You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's up, guys? All right, welcome to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. We actually have another guest on the line. We got Dylan with Solo Cuts Landscaping. What's going on, brother?
Brian, what is going on, my man?
Dude, I am excited to have you on the podcast. I'm excited to have another guest on the podcast. And honestly, somebody with like your story, your background, which is a little unique. You're working full time. You have a lawn landscape business on the side. It's been your side hustle, but you're now at this position where you are looking to go full time with your business. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct.
Dude, that is incredible. So, well, let's do this really quick. Why don't you give everybody, maybe like your 60-second bio, like where do you live? Where's your business look like? And what do you do full time for work, by the way?
Yep. So, like I said, my name is Dylan Stephenson with Solo Cuts Landscaping. We're based out of Springfield, Ohio. And yes, so I've been running the business now for 5 years. Like you said, I work full time and run a lawn landscape company. And it's been a very busy 5 years. It's kind of been a crazy 5 years from where it started to where it is now. Because when we first got going, it was just the wife and I, and then now we are blessed with two beautiful kids. So as awesome. Everything went, as everything's grown, so has our family. And that just, means a lot more time management. Trying to figure schedules out, and just trying to balance, work with, home life. So it's a lot to do. But with the help of the wife and everything,
I was going to say, you got to be busy.
A crazy roller coaster.
Yeah, you got to be busy.
Yeah,
so let's just be honest.
Very busy. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm selfishly excited because I like hearing other guys that are out there hustling, guys that are making things happen, and we're gonna go through. You share your story a little bit. I think it's really going to encourage a lot of folks. We become buds through Instagram and YouTube, and seeing each other at a couple live events and the GIE, maybe last 12, 18, maybe 24 months. And it's funny. So I run actually a lot of the content that I produce. I actually share with you first. I got a small inner circle of like 2 or 3 people that I send stuff to, and I always send it to Dylan at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, hey bro, really quick, can you do me a favor? And like, you're clearly sleeping because you right now have a traditional job. And I get a text at like 5:30 in the morning knowing that you're like going to be the first person that could see it. Right. And, so I'm like, hey Dylan, like I just dropped a new video, or Dylan, I just dropped a new podcast. Can you check it out really quick? And you're like, I got you. Cause you right now you drive a truck and you do some stuff with, I think GFS. And so you kind of have an opportunity to have the earbuds in a little bit. So you can consume content during the day. Right. So, let's do this. Before we jump into it, let's hear from the show sponsors, and then we'll tag back up and hear a little bit more of the rest of your story.
Have you ever thought about starting your own lawn and landscaping business, but not sure where to start? Look no further than LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com, an e-training website dedicated to helping you start and grow a successful lawn care business. Save more time and make way more money by learning exactly what it takes to grow your business to the next level. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all training programs today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, so I'm really excited, like I said, when we're talking about the fact that you are in this position right now in your business where you work full-time, but you're about to go full-time in your lawn and landscape business, right?
Yes.
So let's do this. Let's back the card up a little bit, because I want to know how you got started, even like with a lawn care landscaping business, because you and I have talked actually pretty in depth before about your whole life macro here, and I haven't like given you advice. You asked for a couple suggestions a couple times on phone calls.
Yeah.
And your position's a little bit more unique. Like I feel like lawn care, there's a couple buckets, where people fall into. Like sometimes you're the get out of high school, get out of college, and you just want to start a lawn care business. There's some folks that intentionally get into the business. And then there's folks that, have a 9-to-5 and they want to transition into being an entrepreneur and, maybe running their own company, and you being lawn care landscaping like myself. Did you have like intentions 5 years ago that like, man, one day I want to start a lawn landscape company? Or was it like, I think if I remember correctly, I remember you sharing your story. So maybe on one of your videos on YouTube that like you wanted, I think you wanted a big boy, like zero turn mower. And and if I remember the story correctly, I think you sold your wife on getting this big zero turn mower if like you cut like your lawn and like two of the neighbors' lawns. Maybe is that still the story? Or
yeah. So first off, though, real quick, thank you for having me on the podcast. This is always fun to do with folks, and to be on your podcast here.
Yeah.
I definitely do appreciate it. So, I think it'll be a fun time here. So, but yeah, so you're basically kind of right on the money. 5 years ago, my wife and I had bought our first home, and we were sitting on like 2 acres, and it was up on a hill and everything. So just with the way the layout was, like it would burn up a residential mower, just like a standard mower in no time. Like,
okay, sure.
It's a pretty steep, you know what I mean? Just with how steep the hill was and everything, like a residential mower. Actually, I tried to roll my yard with a residential mower and aerate it, and it wouldn't have enough traction to go up the hill.
Oh no.
Yeah. So at that point I was like, well, there's only one way to go. So we ended up going with like a mid-grade commercial. So it'd be like an entry level commercial. It was a Cub Cadet mower.
Cool.
I had a dealer that was like the next city over. I didn't really know anything about it. They just had like a 0% financing for whatever. So I was like, sure, let's do it. So I ended up doing that, and I was like, okay, well now we have this, $150, $200 mower payment. Let's just try and pick up some yards. So my in-laws and an insurance agency here in town. So I mowed my wife's grandparents' agency, their house, and then just a neighbor down the street from her grandparents. I literally started off with just like mowing some family friends.
So you weren't in business. Yeah, you were just trying to make the payment.
Oh, I had at that point I had no intentions on doing this.
Sure.
Because with the way things were going at Gordon's, I was moving on up the ladder. Like I started part-time as like basically grunt, to then moving up to, in the warehouse there, and, working, making whatever. And then now I'm in transportation, to where it's like the next level up is like sales and, corporate. So it's like I'm at a good level with Gordon. So at that point though, like I said, I had no intentions on doing this whole landscaping thing, but after a year of doing it, I was like, well, I'll get like a t-shirt made, you know what I mean? And we'll just see how this goes. Like, as basic as I could possibly be, though, like Office Max, go get some general, receipt invoices, that just have a number on top, and you fill in everything else handwritten.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we were moving into our house that we're in now, I actually found some of my original receipts.
That's awesome.
of like a mulch installation. You know what I mean? It was just kind of cool to look back on that. But anyways,
beginnings.
Absolutely. And it was like, I had no intention. So then I started posting some pictures on Facebook. It's like, oh yeah, striping a lawn, blah, blah, blah. And, once I kind of just started posting some stuff, then I got looking on YouTube. And one of the first videos I came across was one of Keith Kalfas's, actually.
Oh,
and
cool. Yeah.
I remember the video. It was like an early springtime video that he was recording. It was just him out there. He may have had like some guys in the back of the house. I'm not sure, but he would walk across the street with his camera and just, just talking about getting like a landscaping company off the ground and all this stuff, and kind of giving his story. Then once you watch one of his videos, you're like, well, let's just watch the next one, and the next one, and the next one. You just fall in that rabbit hole.
He's a legend.
Oh yeah. So, but I still wasn't thinking too much of it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just because I wasn't thinking of this as being an avenue. Well, time keeps going where it's like we start sharing some more and more, and then it just kind of snowballed into something that I've really taken on and taken a passion for. And like I said, now we've worked our way to a point to where we're wanting to make that jump to full time.
Sure.
Like I said, I've been at Gordon's 9 years this year. So I've definitely put my, a lot of time in there. And honestly, like, people that know like what I do at work and like, what we make, because I make good money, like it has done us well. And really, having, that income has gave us some flexibility and freedom on like not having to bank on what I make in lawn care to like support our life. Like,
right.
Because we're just living off my GFS. We're not living off of what I make in lawn, in our business.
100%.
But,
well, I think
like good.
Well, I think that's one of the things I want to talk about, because you're kind of coming into lawn care and landscaping a little bit more of a position of strength, which my story was not like that. My story was, hey, I need to survive. I had no cash, no nothing. I was 20, had to finance this thing, started making some money, make some money, reinvest, and it took us 5 to 7 years to even have a business that's worth mentioning, to be put on the radar.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this though: when did you decide that you could see this thing a little bit bigger than just mowing some lawns on the side? Was it just you kind of turn around and you're like, hey, we've got 34 clients and we're making 40 grand with this little business? I mean, the reality is like you are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Like I know from what you've told me your schedule, and why don't you go into that a little bit? Because I'd like to know, when did you see this a little bit bigger, and then why don't you tell everybody your schedule, like how you actually run your business, because you work a lot. Like you have a pretty stout schedule that I would compare against anybody else that might want to go full time.
Yeah, so probably like year 3 of doing the business was we throwing around an idea of getting this to a position of trying to make that transition as smooth as possible. Because of what we make at work, like I don't mean this in any way of, boosting myself or anything, but like what we make it, because I have 2 kids, have married, have the whole house deal, everything. And it's like what I make at work, like that's just not an income where it's just like, oh, let's just up and leave with no plan and not have anything in line and just go for it.
Right.
Versus if you're not working like a job that you could really make a living off of, then that's, if you're making like a lower tier job and you're wanting to transition into trying to, get a lawn and landscape company off the ground, then there's probably that's an easier salary to, to get to really quick. So, that's why we've, for the past 5 years, have been just, swinging them both, because we just want to make that transition as smooth as possible. It's going to still take work, but we're just wanting to get that boat as close to the dock and try and line up our finances as much as possible to just make it as smooth as possible. So,
yeah.
But anyways, about the schedule, I'm up between 3:30 and 4 in the morning every day for work. And then I get off between 12 and 2.
I'm not even going to tell you what time I went to bed last night. So.
Oh,
I could have texted you and you'd have been up. Let's just say that. So.
yeah. So anytime if you're up late at night and need someone to keep you up, give me a call.
Shoot a message.
I'm up. Gosh, so I'm up at between 3:30 and 4 in the morning for work, and I get off between 12 and 2. And the way we have our schedule set up is we do our cuts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay. Gotcha.
One reason we do that in the 3 days is that way if we get rain at the beginning of the week, or let's say like leading into the week, then if we have to bump back a couple of days, we're still getting people cut in the week and not going into the weekend. Also, with the weekend, because, you know, there's times where like I get held up at work and I may not get off till 4 o'clock, like anything, like my truck can break down. We get, you know, caught up in traffic in an accident in downtown Columbus, and, you know, I get delayed. So like with our landscaping work, we save that for like Friday, Saturday. And if we have to finish the job up on Sunday or whatever, then, you know, we'll do that.
Gotcha.
So that's why we do all our cuts at the beginning of the week. And then we basically do our landscaping, save it for, you know, the end of the week to the weekend. And, you know, that was actually kind of a hurdle to get like even my customers on track at first. Just because everyone's like, oh, but if you come on Monday, by the time the weekend comes, you know, so that's when it's like, I think you actually did a video on this a while back where it's like, well, that's when you get your sales hat on. You say, but because you are my Monday, like you are a top priority customer, like you're getting, like when it comes to the beginning of the week mowing, like you're going to be one of the first properties that we cut, and you are definitely going to be cut like that week. Like, you know what I mean? So and then, you know, you kind of say it like on the Tuesday, then Wednesday people, you're like, oh, well, you're in the middle of the week. So, you know, you're still going to have, you know, pretty, you know, good length on grass come the weekend. You know, it's still going to look good for the most of the week. So just keeping the customers on board with the schedule too that's a big thing as well. But we run a crazy schedule. It's like when we were at the academy, I was like, when I was talking, I was like, I work hours that I would not wish on anyone, because I really do. Like,
yeah. And by
the end of the season, I am burnt. I'm burnt out.
Well, I mean, I'm burnt out just running my business, you know, 40, 50 hours a week, 80 hours a week, 40, 50 hours a week. And I don't have a second, you know, a full-time job, a second job, a first job like you do. Yeah. And so when I see you, you know, post on Instagram and making a YouTube video a week here or there, you know, because you have a good YouTube channel that's going and stuff too. And you're just, you really enjoy this like lawn care community and a lot of the stuff that you've gained info from and now can contribute your story as well, which is just really cool. But yeah, I mean, dude, when I see you out there like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm like, oh my God, like I know, hey, Tuesday we got rain up in Michigan. You're what, 2, maybe 3 hours south of me? It's not that far.
Yeah, like 3.5 way. Yep.
Okay. Well, and you know, so we get some rain that comes through, and I'm like, oh no, like it screwed my schedule. I'm gonna have to work on Friday, and I'm like, oh hey, like, you know, your first world problem. Like Dylan's probably got to work now, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, and now Saturday, just to like, you know, just to make everything line up and to get everything done, just to, you know, take care of the normal schedule, right? That doesn't count. Yeah. Well, you know, I had this 9-yard mulch job now that's going to get bumped an extra week, and I would imagine sometimes you probably do run into some bottlenecks and some snafus with clients and scheduling. I mean, I'm sure it's not always sunshine and rainbows. I'm sure you've had your fair share of customers that, you know, do get mad at you or frustrated because you can't cut them on a Friday, or you have to reschedule a job for like a Sunday. Does anything like that happen while you're in this tough balance right now? Honestly, the only time it's ever became an issue where like, hey, we're gonna have to bump you back a day, a couple of days, is honestly when I've taken on a customer that right off the rip, I had a bad vibe about that customer. Like I'm pretty fortunate with like customers I have, like pretty understanding.
They are very understanding. Like they get it. Like they know my kids by name. Like I talk to them, you know, like they're out, they'll ask how the kids are doing. So it's like, I have great customers, but it's the ones that I get a bad vibe from right off the rip. And it actually has happened this year, and I actually had to drop them because of that. Sure. Because, you know, whenever I take on like a new customer, I kind of give them the layout of like, hey, you know, we're cutting, you know, your 3 neighbors' properties typically on Wednesday. But I was like, if we get rain at the beginning of the week, then, you know, there's a good chance you may be delayed a day or two because like in this neighborhood specifically, their properties are up on hills. And I said, you know, if the ground's wet, like then that takes a chance on the mower slipping, which could cause damage to your property. And that's our ultimate goal, is to make your property like the best in the neighborhood. So if it's going to be, you know, if it's wet at all, you know, like I tend to let you guys sit for a day or two just to make sure that, you know, it's dry enough. And like that following week, like we had gotten, like this spring was completely soaking, and we got a big rainfall, and she's calling, "Hey, it's Wednesday, wondering where you're at."
Sure. Well,
so I call her that night and have the conversation. She calls me Thursday. "Hey, where you at?" Well, it rained Wednesday night as well. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But I set up the game, like I set everything out there for him right off the top. And plus this spring, like in our conversation, she even talked about how wet it was. So it's not like she's oblivious to what happened, but
yeah, she lives right where you live.
I actually ended up having to, I said, you know, because one of my customers there, she even said, like, you're just so you know, like, I don't know if it's her or what, but you're the the third guy this year to cut her property. I was like, oh, you know, no big deal. Like, I've seen people that just like, you know, like kind of like the run of the mill guys come through. I'm like, well, you know, it could have been like them. So giving her the benefit of the doubt. And I mean, it's like, there's always something, and it just seemed like every time there was either something I wasn't doing right, and, you know, always giving the benefit of like, okay, no big deal. You know, like, I'll be sure to hit that spot, you know, make sure we focus on that next time.
Yep.
And I just had to be like, man, unfortunately, I don't think that we're a company that can, you know, provide the service that you're wanting. So I'm gonna
part ways.
You know, I had to. Yeah, it's just what I had a bad vibe right off the rip, and it was just something I felt like needed to be done, because I was like, it's not worth, like, I don't want to go to a property and hate being there the whole time or walk on eggshells. So,
well, I think you did.
You know, that kind of happens sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, it happens to me. It happens to me all the time. I can totally relate. I think you handled it really well with, like you said in the beginning, which was handling expectations. We talk about that. A lot on my channel, because how you start them is how you get them, and how you're going to keep them. And if you let them walk on you in the beginning, not going to be probably the most fun relationship. And you know, and it's funny. I can totally relate. By the way, I love to hear folks that are listening to this, if they could chime in, and you know what I mean. That there's so many times where I have a client that shoots me a text message the next morning, like, "Why didn't you come yesterday?" I'm like, you live 1 mile from my house. Did you not notice the Category 4 hurricane storm tornado that came through and, you know, dropped 3 inches of rain in 1 hour? And, you know, we're at best a half a day behind. I'm like, could you just be a little bit more grateful? Like, you know, it's like the never ending, like, love-hate relationship with clients. So I have no problem being transparent on that one. Sometimes they're your best friends, and then other times, like, where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? And you're like, hey, I run a business, I run a company, I'm doing the best to service you, you know? So, well, here's a question I want. We'll take a quick break here, but I want to dive into equipment. I want to know, you know, over the last 5 years, you've made some equipment. I've seen it on YouTube. You use a lot of different brands that I haven't used, or we don't really get access to. And as you've grown your company, I know you've been heavily reinvesting in your company. I want to maybe talk a little bit about that, maybe see what kind of marketing is working for you. And then I'd love to talk a little bit more about what you're doing to line up to make the transition to going full time, because that's coming up here pretty quick, right? So
yeah. Well,
let's do this. Let's hear a quick break from the sponsors, and then we'll jump right back into it.
Enjoying today's show? Motivated to take your lawn care and landscaping business to the next level? Learn what it takes to grow your lawn and landscaping business today with training and education from the Lawntrepreneur Academy. Get educated with how-tos on mulch installation, plowing snow, aeration and overseeding, and so much more. These training programs are designed to help you save time and make more money with your business. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all courses today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now back to the show.
All right, cool. So here's the deal. You've been are you still using that first zero-turn mower that you bought 5 years ago, or where you at now?
No, we had definitely parted ways with that original mower.
No.
Like I said, it was. I was ready to get rid of it.
Sure.
So you know, at that time it was the Cub Cadet Pink L. Like I said, we were up on a hill, but just with the way that mower was designed, it had a narrow wheelbase. It was a 60-inch cut. It's just a heavy mower. Like, that was a actually really heavy mower. so with the near wheelbase and everything, like it just didn't hold a hill.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I need something that can ultimately hold our hill. Like whether I continue this business, because at this point I was like, whether I continue this business or not, I need something that can mow our house. Like,
right.
Yes. Because I could only, you know how it is. I could only mow one way, and that was up and down.
Sure.
And I want to be able to mow that angle, but I couldn't because once them front casters broke, like I was down the hill, and that was it. You know how it is.
You got the tuck and roll.
Yeah, exactly. And hold on for life.
Yeah,
so
right.
I started doing some research and started asking around to a couple guys that I know at landscaping companies here. And I keep my eye out. I always, like, whenever you see a rig run by, you always look and see what's on their trailer. I think everyone probably does that. And what we're using now is Hustler, and I was seeing Hustler pop up quite a bit. And I knew a guy that ran Hustler for a while, and now he's Exmark.
Mm-hmm.
But he ran this. I shot him a message on Instagram. I said, "Hey, like, I know you used to run Hustlers. How well is the hillside stability on those?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "I would actually put up my Hustler on a hillside before I would an Exmark."
Mm.
So I was like, all right, then. Well, that kind of eliminates Exmark being an option. So, and then I went to a Toro dealer. Just didn't get a good vibe from that dealer. So anyways, with the deal I'm going to now,
mm-hmm.
and another thing I wanted to do was, I was like, I want to go to one place that can deal with all of my equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to, go to this dealer here for my like backpack blowers, trimmers, head trimmers, go to this one here for this one for that. I just wanted one person to be able to, they know my equipment. They, you know what I mean? They know what it goes through, whatever. So
yeah,
I just want to be able to go to one-stop shop and be there. So
that's smart.
The place I go to is Small Engine Service Pros. They're about 15 minutes outside of Springfield in New Carlisle, Ohio. And their big brand is Hustler, and they also sell Right Standers. But went in there and talked to them, and I was like, I'll tell you what, guys, if you bring out, just bring out 2 or 3 mowers, if you can do that and bring them out to my house, like, we'll just see which one, I feel more comfortable with and which one holds it the best. And I'll sign, we can sign papers right then if whatever. And
so you did a demo.
Exactly. Yeah. But they brought their flatbed out with 3 Hustlers on it and said, all right, bud, here's our 3 choices. They, one was the original mower I picked was the Fast Track SD.
Mm-hmm.
That's like an entry level commercial.
Okay.
But like at this time still, we didn't really know what we were going to be doing, with the business.
Mm-hmm.
So we had that one. Then the next one up is the X1. Then the next one up is a Super Z. So I tried the Fast Track, and it held great. It cut great. And I was like, all right, well, let's, whenever you get back or sometime this week, let's sign papers up. And that's what we ended up doing. So
nice.
I think
I remember seeing, I don't know if you were on YouTube yet, maybe, or Instagram, but I thought I saw that video of that flatbed. I thought I saw, were you on social media then or no? Cause I thought,
I don't think I don't know if I really was.
Okay.
If I was just starting, and
I thought I saw like a gray truck with 3 yellow mowers on it or something like that. And I don't know, maybe it was you, maybe it was somebody else. I can't remember, but I
may have posted a picture. I may have posted a picture on Instagram about it from back in the day.
Yeah,
for all I know.
Back in my day.
Back when. Yeah, exactly. So
it.
So we ran the Hustler Fast Track SD for 2 years, and that would bring us up to this current year. The mower did great. It cut great. There's some things that as we progressed in business, we started looking more into like being more efficient, and there's some things we looked into to where, take for instance on the Fast Track, because it is an entry level commercial, so it doesn't have the strongest motor and everything. Some issues we're running into, like say springtime, was like when that grass is super thick. I would have to double cut, not because it was really leaving scragglers, but because the discharge just wasn't that as strong.
Was like a 25 horsepower, like 60 inch or something like that, or maybe?
No, it was.
Maybe
it was even less. Yeah, it may have been like 21, 22.
Sure,
or something.
Well, it's an entry, like you said.
Yeah. So that was something where I was like, that always kind of got to me, because I was like, gosh, I'm double cutting all these properties. Like, instead of just one and done and getting out of there, like I'm having to double cut them. And it's like, it's nothing to the customer's fault. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like, oh yeah, we dump twice as much fertilizer every time, so that's why the grass is growing so crazy.
Sure. I'm actually, I'm scrolling through your Instagram right now, and I see this good old yellow 54 4-inch Chariot, man, the old whip. So it's one of your first photos on Instagram. That's awesome.
But like I said, it cut great. I mean, it left great cut quality, but there was just some things that we were lacking, and then speed. Was another issue, like its ground speed. So when we really started taking this business like towards like, okay, let's prepare ourselves to just make this as, like, let's try to get our equipment lined up to where when we go full time, like we have what we need, and it's going to be what is going to run for us for a while.
Right. You want to go full time.
We then this spring upgraded our mower to the Hustler Super Z, which is their top of the line. The only bigger option we could have done was get their hyperdrive motor, and that screams. I mean, it is super fast, but that's for when you're mowing huge acreage. You know, I mean, if you're wide open, like that is what you're going to want, because it just moves. But with we're typically mowing half-acre lots. So it just wasn't something I did not need that much, because it really is like insanely fast.
Is that the mower you have right now, or do you have a different mower?
No, I have the Super Z, just not with that, like the hyperdrive.
Oh, gotcha. I got
you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so the mower we have now, it is awesome. Like when I demoed it, it was on a 60-inch deck. We run a 54-inch deck, so it's this, like, between the 60 and the 54, the deck is still the VX4 deck. And so the discharge is that much better, because it's all the same components that a 60-inch is, but just on a smaller deck. So the discharge is ridiculous. And I went from having to double cut everything to single cutting everything. And it was amazing. The ground speed's there, full suspension seat. I mean, it was amazing. And I told because my dealer let me demo the 60, and I was like, oh, I see what you guys did here, because after doing that, I fell in love with it. And, that's what we started around the rest of the year.
Funny how that works, right?
I was like, well played, guys. Well played.
I took my Infinity in for, I had to get the all-wheel drive serviced. It was like a year ago, and then of course they give me a demo of the brand new version of my car. It's like a Q50 Infinity, and it was slick. And I came home with it. It's like white, and it's just so funny, because Liz goes, "Is that the new version of your car?" I go, "Yeah, it sure is." And she goes, "Is it nice?" So she does "Is it nice?" I go, "Yeah, it's nice." And she goes, "Oh yeah." She goes, "The Infinity's getting older." And I said, yeah. I said, it's an oil change, or it's a full all-wheel drive oil change. We're keeping our car. Okay, it's paid for. Yeah. It's a labor of love out of that vehicle. But it's fun. It's funny when you always get sent home with the newest or the nicest. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. Happens many times at my dealer. They're like, "No, like your mower's down." This is way back in the day when I had, like you said, starter mowers, and same thing. Like they'd be sending us home with like an X-Mark E-Series laser, and which is a great mower, entry commercial sorta. And then they would have like, well, hey, yours, needs new tires. We'll get it back to you tomorrow. Why don't you just take this X series demo out? And the mower's like $15,000. And I'm like,
Yep.
all right, cool. And you get out there and it's like, it's a T-Rex out there, just smashing everything down and just.
So this is what it feels like.
Yeah. And then you go back to get your mower and it's like the wah 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 sound,
Yeah.
And
yep. Exactly.
They're in sales, man. They know how to get us, right? And and nothing sells better than that fresh paint, though, right?
Oh yeah, fresh paint gets you.
Red, yellow, orange. So that's awesome.
Yep. So we've been getting, like we were talking about, reinvesting and just trying to get our equipment to kind of have as much as we can before we make that jump. So
being debt free and cash flow positive.
Yep.
You bought a new truck, right? That was a huge. I wouldn't say it was a bottleneck, but it was definitely something that you wanted to upgrade as to get your ducks in a row. You were saying, right? You bought you bought a Chevy truck. I was trying to bring it to the light side, but you wanted to remain a dark force user.
Yeah. Yeah. So we and that all came. We in a way didn't have intentions on doing it when we did, but we were dealing with a lot of downtime on the truck that I had. To where, we got in a bind where I didn't have my truck for like 3 weeks, and I was using my in-laws' spare Expedition.
Oh wow!
Like an order, and here I am.
Oh, I've been there.
Pulling up to our landscape yard, picking up like 30 plants for an install next to these big time companies with their F450s, flatbed dump trucks, whatever. And I'm loading up an Expedition and a utility trailer with plants for an install. You know what I mean? And but I had to get it done. I don't care really what people think. So I was like, but I have to get it done.
Yep.
But it was, our family was also growing. It was an extended cab, and so it just. Because with doing both, like I still have to pick the kids up, a lot of times. So we were planning on having our second. So,
is the
we hadn't had a truck payment.
Is the extended, the truck you had, was that a full 2-door or 4 doors, or is it just like the latch where like it pops the back doors, or was it just a regular cab? I'm not overly familiar with Chevy, so I was just curious.
Yeah. So, so it was an 03 GMC Sierra 2500 HD.
Okay.
It's a diesel. But the doors, it was like you open the front door and then the back door had like an inside latch that you pull open.
Yeah.
So both doors would open the same kind of opposite of each other.
Definitely not enough room for a family. So
no, because my wife would have to, when we had Easton, my wife was pushed up to the front of the truck because she had a car seat in the back.
Yep. I get it.
So we hadn't had a truck payment like in I think almost a year. So we had just been stockpiling. Stockpiling cash. And so it was like, okay, we can't be, because the plan was to get us a family vehicle, but because my truck was going, it was like, ultimately the business needs a truck. Like we need a reliable truck for the business. So we talked and we decided like, okay, we're going to get a new truck. We're going to get one that, fits the family, something that, like warranty, all that, just kind of a comfort thing. And it was like what we needed though, because to keep the business from kind of going stagnant on like, we don't have a truck right now, but also be able to accompany the family.
Oh yeah.
So we end up going to the dealer. We got the work truck trim, which is what I wanted, because I wanted the vinyl floors. And honestly, Chevy just had the best work truck trim.
Sure.
I just liked a lot about it. So we went in, we threw half down, just because we wanted to eliminate payments as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so, we bought that in 2018 in August, and we paid it off 2 months ago.
Nice, man. Good for you. That's awesome.
So
congratulations.
So thank you. But of course, because we did that, we sent my wife's car. She had an '07 Civic. We sent hers to go get work done, and they said, "Hey, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but your frame rail is completely like rusted through on the one side.
Oh,
so we're not going to do any work to this vehicle."
Oh no.
So basically, it was, well, okay, Jordan. So we ended up getting her a car, that Chevy Traverse that came off a lease. It's like half the cost of what one is brand new.
Oh yeah. Smart.
Yeah. So yep. So that's our family. That's now our family rider. So the truck would just now be a full-time work vehicle.
You're a big Chevy fan. So
yeah. No, we're Team Chevy. So
that's funny. We'll take you. That's why I really wanted to have you on the podcast. Just to prove to all the listeners that if you drive a Chevy, you can do it too.
yeah. If you drive a Chevy, anyone can do it. The truck has been something we wanted.
Oh man.
So the truck was something we definitely wanted, but then one thing we were running into was, doing mulch and cleanups and everything like that. We were looking into getting a dump trailer, just because what I was running into with the utility trailer is if we had excess mulch from a landscape job, it would sit on the nose of my landscape trailer. Yeah, or I'd have to shovel it out.
Yep.
And so instead of, so then typically everyone around here gets black dyed mulch. That's the most common.
Mm-hmm.
So basically we would just tarp it so it all stayed fine. And then it sit on my trailer to the next job. I was like, okay, we can't be having this. It was more annoying than anything. So my father-in-law had a dump trailer that he wasn't really using anymore. He was a contractor, so I ended up getting that from him, and we've been running that for the past couple of years. Like we're just gonna be doing some just like repainting to it this winter, just to get it all cleaned up and everything. But so we're basically ready to rock and roll for the most part, equipment-wise. Now I talked to you in the fall. We talked about dump insert, being like a one truck operation, the gains and benefits of having the dump insert, just because when it comes to fall cleanups and everything, like I can't run the utility trailer. If I run the utility trailer, I'm at the dump for an hour unloading a whole utility trailer full of leaves.
Mm-hmm.
I can't use the dump trailer because once it's a 10-foot long, so once I get leaves in there, I have nowhere to put the mower.
Right.
So I'd say that our next look would be getting into a dump insert for the truck. But it's one of those things where like we're not opposed to getting it as soon as we need it, but we're also just gonna like see how it goes without it. Like starting off the season, in the spring, like if I don't have to drop, $3-4 grand on a dump insert, and we can, utilize the dump trailer as much as possible, then we'll definitely do that. But we're not opposed to the idea of the dump insert.
No, I feel you, man. They're definitely a pretty penny, the dump inserts. For me, I can totally relate, because I was at the point where I was like, well, do I buy a $9,000 dump trailer? Do I buy, a $40,000 to $75,000, like you were just saying, F450 dump truck, with all the big boys?
Yep.
I'm a big renting guy. I've shared about this on stories and photos and videos and posts. I like renting. One day we'll own, but for where I'm at in the season of my life, renting has been the ideal situation for us. And I can't, can't take a F450 home to the apartment or our little townhome that we have here now.
Yep.
So I feel you. And for us, the Band-Aid was a good dump insert, and I remember throwing down for that. It's like $4 grand. It's a sting, but for me, the bottleneck that it alleviated was tremendous. With like you said, how we can tackle spring and fall cleanups, extra mulch, heck, just carrying more landscaping supplies. Stone when we need it. All that mess. So.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I'm with you right there, man. It sounds like you were saying, are quote unquote, I heard somebody say ducks don't get in a row, but you're getting your ducks in a row and just trying to be smart. I think if you can get into the business, I answer probably about 75% of the folks that reach out to me, kind of get started opposite of you, but there's a handful of people that have good jobs, a good career. They got a 401k, they got health care and insurance and benefits. And like you said, you're not walking away from a $30,000 a year job. It's right. You're not making pennies and peanuts. But at the same point, I think before we started this podcast, you were, we both were. We were just foaming at the bit, excited because we don't get to talk as much as we both want to. And you're like, I was just talking to my CPA, and we already got like a tax strategy for 2020, and when I'm going to quit my job, and how we're going to tackle the first 6 months. And he's like, man, if I'm already making this with work in my business, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week. Imagine what I can do with my company, growing it 50, 70, 80 hours a week and being all in, not having the distractions. In fact, I remember, I don't know if I can take you back, about 6 weeks ago, though, you asked a really good question at our live event, our Entrepreneur Academy live event. And you probably know what I'm referring to.
I do. I know exactly where you're going.
You asked a really good, we did a live panel just to like set the scene. There's 175 to 200 people at our conference. Tremendous success. Super thankful. You were there, and appreciate you coming, obviously. And
yeah, absolutely.
The whole day was it was just slam packed, just attitude and mindset. And people are like, really, you're gonna have a one-day conference about lawn care? And I'm like, it's more than lawn care. It's about success. We'll do some blocking and tackling, but the reality was, it was about helping encourage and empower people to take their life to the next level. And all the guys at the end, I did an audible, and they were like, hey, do you guys mind doing a panel? And all the speakers were like, yeah, we got about 45 minutes to burn. Let's do it. And you had asked a question about kind of going all in, and how do you face fear? And you're at this balance right now of like super predictable, right? And the other half is super unknown. It's like, what do they say? Like, a lot of people want to take the known, and then there's the known unknown, right? And it's like, you have a good setup and a good situation, and it's like, do I really want to, like you said, cast off the ropes and head on out? So what can you take us back to that scene? Cause you if I'm just being honest, bro, you were emotional, you were charged up, it got real after about 3:00 in the afternoon. People were crying, people were like throwing chairs, like excited, people are standing up and like it turned cultish. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, for real. And I mean, we got so many people that are excited about coming to 2020 because people were like, they went on a stretch of faith to see if it was going to be a fun event. And I think the feedback has just been way more, the expectation versus what we delivered was just like 10 times more. But you asked a question, you were on the front row. Like you couldn't hide. And Stanley Dirt Monkey and Keith Kalfas were just like eyeballing you down with your question, and you were like half afraid but like half going on faith. And take everybody back to that experience, because I think that was a pivotal moment for you, in my observation, and correct me if I'm wrong.
So real quick, if anyone is for the next time Brian puts on an event, like, make it a point to go. Like I'm like a story I'm about to tell, like that is a moment, like I will not forget that moment. And that was a huge moment because my wife she wasn't at the event, but she was there, she came up there with me. But that was just like a big moment. But like to be surrounded by, like, everyone thinks of like the GIE, oh, you're surrounded by like-minded people. But think of the GIE, like that mentality of everyone in the like-minded, but you're in very close quarters and like an intimate time, like, you know what I mean? Because everyone's running a 90-mile-an-hour man at the GIE. Like, obviously, exactly what. Oh yeah.
It's
how
busy.
it is. To where it's like, yeah, you get to have a conversation with them, but it's like, hey, oh yep, great. I got to get going type thing, And at least when you're up there, it's like, I mean, you can chat it up with everyone because they're up there all day and all night. But yeah, so I was sitting right up front. I told Bedell, because I was helping with the doors out front, actually I was the guy like saying like, hey, here's a form you need to sign. Make sure you read it all the way, sign at the bottom, take it up front. Cool. Yeah, that was my job.
I appreciate that.
I told Bedell, I send the check in the mail, please.
Yeah, but, volunteer.
Yeah. But then I told Bedell, I said, hey man, give me if you could take my bag up front. I was like, because I'm gonna, get some little clips of it and everything, and I just want to be up front anyway. So you get to the live panel. So, okay, we'll kind of backtrack a little bit. A couple months ago was the first time I even told my parents like exactly what we were going to be doing. Mm-hmm. I think they had an idea that there's eventually going to come a time to where I was going to be going full time, mm-hmm. but I don't think they really knew when. And I was doing some work in the front yard, and my parents literally live just across the street from us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I was doing some work in the front, and Dad came up to me and he was like, hey, how'd that meeting go that you had the other day? Because we had a meeting for an HOA bid the night before. And I said, oh, I think it went well. I was like, but you never know with those things. I'm sure there's other companies out there putting bids in and stuff. And mm-hmm. He was like, well, do you think you'll be able to, like, say you take that on, like, you're pretty busy now. How are you going? I was like, well, we're going to be a little more open in time. And he was like, what do you mean? And we kind of went down that conversation. And so I told him then. But what I didn't know is he did not even tell my mom.
Oh.
Like, my dad and I are, like, locked finger tight.
Sure.
Like, and but he didn't even tell my mom. So one night we're over at my parents for dinner, and the conversation of like, oh yeah, we're not going to be on Dylan's insurance anymore. We're going to be on Jordan's. Blah blah blah. And Mom's like, oh, is Jordan's better insurance? I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Yep. So I was like, at that point, I looked at Jordan. I was like, this conversation has to happen one time or another. So let's have this conversation.
You're talking with your eyes, right?
Yeah. And I had no idea my dad didn't say anything. Because I figured he, and no, that was the first time my mom got the definite response. And, they shared their concerns. Like, it was like an hour conversation, but at the end of it, they were like, we don't live in your house. We're not the man of the house. We're not the one in charge. Like, we don't, like, you guys do what you feel is best. Cause they know my schedule. Like they know, so the conversation was good. Like, it needed to happen. Both ends, said what they wanted to say. And then it came down to, we support you and all that. So that was a big moment just to get that off my chest. Cause that was a huge weight on my shoulders. But I haven't told anyone like that. Like, okay, now there's 3 people that know: my wife, my parents. Sure. So we go up to Entrepreneur Academy Live, and I'm sitting up front, and at the end of it, you bring the panel up, and I was contemplating the whole time, like, oh man, do I bring up this discussion or do I not? And I was like, you know what? Heck with it. Like, I drove up here. I was like, I'm here.
I paid good money.
I paid good money for this spot, Dan. I was like, I might, like, who knows? I might not get this opportunity again to like put it all out there and just get advice from people that have probably either been in my shoes or worse shoes, and they'll have advice for me. So I'm sitting there, and like you said, I kind of question on if I want to keep going or not, because it was such a pivotal moment to just finally come out and just like really say, like, after 5 years of working 16-hour days, 10 months a year, we're finally going to be to the point to where we can jump ship and I can take my business on full time.
That's awesome.
Because it's just a lot, with having, like, God bless my wife for what she does. I mean, she takes the kids to day, because I'm up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning. She takes them to daycare every single day. She picks them up in like spring, summer, most of fall. And she's picking them up from daycare unless it's one of my off days. And that doesn't ever really happen, because even on their off day, then I'm doing something in the shop. So like, she'll get the kids, she'll have like dinner going, and I'm walking in sometimes 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and we get like our hour. And like, seriously, like, she has made this possible. because she's the one that has like made sure everything at home, a lot of stuff at home is getting taken care of. But yeah, so we're at their Launchpreneur Academy, and I just I start crying as I'm talking. And I think I try to hand the mic to you because I'm like, dude, I can't do this. And then you started walking. I was like, you know what? No, I got this. So I start talking, and I'm just like, my question was just, what do I do? Like, seriously, like, what do I do? How do I make this? How do I do this? I was like, I'm like you said, and the analogy, because I rewatched the video, and the analogy you made was great, where it's like grabbing
the trapezius.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, like you don't, that force, like that little bit of where you release one hand to grab the next rope, but you can't grab the next rope until you release that one hand. But like I had Keith Kalfas, like, you know how it is when he's like he's listening to you, like he is looking into you.
He's looking through. He's looking through you.
Yeah. So, but I start off the conversation with kind of my story, and then when I kind of started getting, I would say like I'm not really, emotional. Like it's crazy because I just remember seeing like everyone was kind of just sitting in the backs of their seat, you know, listening, probably thinking like, all right, guy, what do you got? And then next thing you know, everyone just like leaned forward, hands are on their knees, just like, okay, this guy's for real. Dude, and
you could cut the tension with a knife. I mean, it was thick.
Yeah. And, Stan starts talking, and he's like, well, what are your blessings? And, just everyone we're just saying like this fear, like you just have to face this fear. And he's like, but it was such a big moment to finally, just break out, and it just almost just made like what we have been working for finally feel real, because it has been tough. I mean, there's been times where like I catch myself out of a landscape job, 90-degree weather on a Saturday, and my wife's with the kids like at our friend's pool, whatever, and here I am doing this job, and I'm like, gosh dang it, like why am I out here? Like I'm there's times, and my wife has at times had to like bring me back in, like, hey, you need to just like take like a break, like do your mowing, but just take a break, like take 2 weeks of not doing landscape, because I mean I just run myself to death. I mean, because I have this thing in my head that says, I got to get this. I can't not. This job could lead to the next one. This job could be the one that like could be with the right type of customer to get us. Everything, just trying to line everything up for when we go full time. But yeah, that moment at the academy was, and I remember talking to Jordan about it that evening, and that like I texted you the other day. That was a huge moment for Jordan too, because she hadn't been able to go to the GIE because of, timing with the kids and everything. But that was her first time to go up and be around like like-minded people that were going through, like working with, a landscaping business on whatever level they are. And that was her first time to be able to really talk to people. Like I said, like Nick Carlson and the Mulchmate guys. She got to talk to you and Liz. She had held a few conversations, I think, with Liz. And Mike Bedell, she got to talk with him. And I've talked to Mike a whole lot too. So it was good for her to finally get up there and just kind of get what I've been getting. You know what I mean? Like I'm always talking to her about, like if we talk, or, what Mike, I'll chat with Bedell, what we talk about and stuff. So I'm always like filling her in, but that was like her first hands-on experience with it. And it was good for her, like, to get up there, and I was glad she went up. So that way she could just, kind of get her more comfortable with, what we have going on. Not that she's not comfortable, but just kind of give her some more light on, everything, because everyone was super supportive. They're super positive. up there.
I think if I can interject, I think, which by the way, I appreciate you sharing your story and opening it up, because I know it wasn't easy, because it was visibly uncomfortable for you. And I say that out of love, you know that. And I remember being there not that long ago. I didn't have a calculated out with what I did. I just literally, I got laid off, and I was like, okay, I got bills to pay. I need to make this thing work. And I remember working that next 8 weeks harder than I've ever worked in my entire life. Like combined, you know what I mean? And so I know where you're at, because it's a shock. It's a funny story, but it's a shock to like my family that like we're quote unquote successful, like that we pay our bills and we don't have a traditional job and an income. And they're like, well, what do you do for like a paycheck? Like, how do you make your bills? And I'm like, we run a business, and like our business is profitable and it makes us money. And they're like, yeah, but but you don't get a paycheck. And I'm like, and it is, to be honest with you, to steal a line from Robert Kiyosaki, he says like the most addictive thing in the world is not drugs, it's not heroin, it's not cocaine. Arguably, it's a paycheck, and it is a vice. It is a drug. And when you weren't a user, for that long, it's easier to break away. But when you have a heavy, and these words are kind of strong, but I'm being honest. Like when you have a heavy addiction to getting a paycheck and that land of familiarity and security, it is extremely fearful. It is extremely a lot of unknowns. I heard somebody saying an analogy, and this just really stuck with me a long time ago. They said the difference between a job and an entrepreneur is kind of like comparing like what's freedom and what's safety. Like what's freedom and what's security. And I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, well, think about the most secure place on the planet. Like where would that be? And that would be a maximum security prison cell. So but the question is, how much freedom do you have in a maximum security prison cell? Well, none.
No.
So you can't have security and freedom. You can't have security and financial independence. And financial independence can be whatever it means to you. It's some people want to make it. They're living with a lawn care landscape business. People want to do it with real estate. People want to do it. Pick your business model. It doesn't make any difference to me. But I think right now you are, this sounds really weird, but you're going through with withdrawals. You're ready to pull away. You're like, dude, I'm done with this thing. Yeah. Like I want to write my own check. I want to control my own shots. I want to control my future. And you're doing it in the very correct, responsible way. And for real, I'm really proud of you for doing that, because this is something you decided, because you came to my event. Like that was the catalyst to, drop the hammer, to really take things, I think, from fourth gear to sixth gear. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you were already skating to where the puck was going to be anyway, come this spring.
Yeah. We had already made the determination on, like, basically at the beginning of 2019, like, this is going to be it. So that's why, like I said, we've just been trying to get, like, the big thing was to pay the truck off, just eliminate debt. Not that we ever really had a lot, but just of what we had, we're just going to eliminate it. Putting a safety net back, and just trying to make a transition as smooth as possible. And that's the thing is like everything that we've done in business has been like 95% organic, like word of mouth.
Wow.
Because of what I do full time, I can't, like, if I was to just pump out postcards, flyers, like, I couldn't, because of my, like, not, my schedule is, for the most part, known at what time I get off, but there are times where I can not, like, there's times where that time changes.
Sure.
Well,
sure.
I have to watch how much I take on, because I can't create a bad name for myself and, say drag on a job for however this long, or, take on, say, an HOA, and that need to be like a priority customer. And next thing you know, because of my full-time job, like I get delayed on being able to get their work. So it's just, I just had to watch how much I took on. And plus always had to keep in mind, hey, Dylan, like, you also work full time and you have a family at home. Like,
right.
Ultimately, you have a family at home.
Yep.
So that's why when it comes, like here in 2 months,
yeah,
like we're going to be like hammering out postcards, flyers, just going ballistic. Like
turn on the machine,
because,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like take for instance, we've already, like I had mentioned to you before, like we put in bids for stuff to where I would not even be able to consider putting in bids for these properties,
Mm-hmm.
like these, I wouldn't be able to, but because we are going to have as much time as essentially as much time as I want to put in the business, I can now, try and capitalize on those bigger jobs that I would not have been able to consider, or those, bigger properties, those HOAs, or, those apartment complex, whatever. I can now, comfortably put a bid in and be like, okay, we can definitely like make time for this and,
sure,
make it work. But,
you won't be handcuffed,
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So basically my takeaway is that, so since the Entrepreneur Academy forward, all the business that you grow will just take like 20% of the revenue, right? Because like a profit share.
Yeah.
That's my consulting fees.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. We'll be sure to send it up there. Just be waiting on it.
Yeah, no, you must have got my post office address wrong because I haven't got the previous check. No,
it's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
Don't wait up on it, but I'm sure it's in the mail.
Yeah, it's coming.
Well, let's do this, man. We're at about an hour here. We'll button this thing up. But number one, I wanna just thank you for taking your time. You are extremely busy, and I think your story is gonna help a lot of folks. Where can they find you and keep up with your story? What's your socials? Instagram, YouTube, wherever else they can find you.
Yeah. So Solo Cuts Landscaping. That's SOLOW Cuts Landscaping. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We just crossed over the 1K mark.
Nice.
A couple weeks ago. So that was a big moment to finally get there. And that is something that you're like, man, this shouldn't take that long to get to 1K. And that is more work than you could ever imagine. I feel like,
Amen.
Yeah, so, but no, we're and my YouTube channel is about just documenting my journey. Just because I'm learning as much or more than, a lot of folks out there, but I'm just bringing the camera along, like you're going to get some day in the life. You're going to get some things that didn't work out, some things that did work out. You're going to get, like we're, getting new equipment. So you're going to be seeing some product reviews and stuff like that. So, like I said, just
on the 1% chance that you're a Chevy fan, you can see his new truck.
Yep. You get to see the new truck. You get to see that Super Z laying stripes.
I'm just messing with you. The Z is nice. The hustler, you're a big hustler guy. And the stripes you lay are second to none, man. They look sharp. You take pride in what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram, YouTube. I have a Facebook page for Solo Cuts Landscaping as well. And then obviously we have a website, solocutslandscaping.com. But
cool.
But yeah, I've had people reach out, and a lot of people are in the same boat as I am. Like people have reached out and just said, like they appreciate the YouTube channel just because it's kind of like, just shed some light on the people that do work full time and run a business. And there's not a lot of people that on YouTube that do it. So
yeah, I agree.
So so if there's, those of you that are out there, you're not alone. So.
Oh, well, hey, man, I super appreciate you opening up and sharing, and I know we're gonna see each other again maybe this spring or summer. I might come on down to Ohio. We'll have to shoot some videos, and maybe if you are interested, we should do a follow up. I'd love to hear if you're listening to this, if you'd like to hear some follow up. So leave us some comments and leave a 5-star review on this podcast if you enjoyed it. But that being said, maybe June, July, maybe 4 or 5 months after you've been all in and doing it full time, maybe we'll have to get an update how your business is and how life is. And you open to that? Are you going to be around or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'd love to do a follow up because I know, especially after how we're hoping to really break through the early spring, I'm sure we'll be getting a good taste of how many opportunities hopefully we can come up with. So yeah, I'll definitely be down for another one. This is always a good time.
Cool. All right, man. Well, all right. Well, that's pretty much it. Fullerton Unfiltered. We're going to be over and out. Appreciate you guys listening wherever you might be. Maybe you're on a mower right now. Maybe you're at home. Maybe you're driving down the road. But just know that we're all out there doing what you guys do. I say this all the time. We're all in this together. And we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate you guys supporting the podcast, Entrepreneur Academy, the YouTube channel, all that mess. We appreciate you guys listening. And that's it. Over and out. We will catch up with you guys here on the next podcast.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.